join to chant the epitome of the Indian civilization, deeply enshrined into the Gayatri Mahamantra. Left hand beneath the right, close your eyes in a contemplative mood. Kindly join me for 3 times Gayatri Mahamantra. Om Bhurabhuvah Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Yo Yo Nah Prachodayat. As it has been the practice with many great seers in our country, before they have embarked upon the knowledge of this eternal gospel of Bhagwad Gita, they have specifically chosen to pronounce a mantra drawn from the Vedic dimension, and I chant it before you with a small elaboration upon the same. Om Yam Brahma Varunindra Rudra Marutahastunvante Divyahistave Vedahi Sagamapad Kramonishad Gayanti Yam Samaga Dhyana Vaste Tadkatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogino Yastantamana Vidu Sura Surgana Devai Tasmai Namaha. The essence of this mantra I chanted before translates into paying an obedience to the Almighty Infinite, who is beyond any dimension, beyond dimension for all elements of the nature, beyond any dimension for the demonic and the devilish. It is infinity and eternity, and we pay our obedience to that eternity. A creation of divine profundity, a direct emanation of divine intuitive intelligence. When I had embarked upon the subject of Bhagwad Gita, it was an arduous assignment before me. It was least that I could understand in order to produce before other seekers. As I'm given to understand, and I look back towards the history, almost all leading great seers of our times, right onwards from Adi Guru Shankaracharya, Madhavacharya, Ramanujacharya, Maharishi Arvind, Lahadi Mahashaya. You go on naming. Almost all those great seers of their own times have deliberated in one or the other way upon this compilation of 700 verses. It was really an arduous assignment for me. Something which was beyond my individual capacity. I consider myself as an infinitesimal entity before this voluminous, great edifice of knowledge. Before I could utilize my brain in order to interpret the truth concealed into the Gospels of the Bhagwad Gita, I considered it appropriate to not utilize my brain in order to produce any other brain product. Rather, I abstained myself to do so. To do justice with the knowledge concealed and embedded into this gospel, I invoked into me the divine spark of all those great seers. And there started the journey of acquiring a new understanding upon Bhagwad Gita, whose authority is directly owed to all those great divine seers. I invoked Lahadi Mahashaya. I invoked Aurobindo. I invoked Madhavacharya. Invoked Shankaracharya. And the process of invocation was submissive. not into the parlance of spiritual aspect where the invocation is the manifestation in some tangible form. In other words, it was a manifestation of the spirit of that particular great seer whom I invoked within my own self. And there I started the journey of adding upon and understanding the hidden truth of Shri Med Bhagwad Geeta. And when I started upon, it was a matter of great astonishment to my limited understanding. The kind of knowledge it bears has been absolutely done no justice with this. An ordinary mind is absolutely elusive of the great depth and the spiritual techniques that were nicely woven into the script of Bhagavad Gita. When I started with it, there were questions in my mind. One cannot denounce the fact that it is an intrinsic part of a larger epic that we know as Mahabharata. Mahabharata, the great Bharat. Bha means the highest emotion. Bhavanai. Rat means emotion. Jo Rama hai, Rat hai. One that is always immersed into the highest emotion is Bharat. And Mahabharata, the larger essence where it stretches on to the dimension of spiritualism, Mahabharata. There were questions into my mind before I started reading Shri Med Bhagwad Geeta from a different perspective, while I was invoking those great seers to come and navigate my understanding appropriately. Something which can be in total accordance with the times of the day, withstand the veracity of the facts. An ordinary mind confronting the complexity of the life would never like to get engaged into further conflicts. And Mahabharata rendered me conflicts at the initial stage, at the outset. There were conflicts. How could it be possible that an inspirational scripture, a motivational scripture, a scripture that contains the techniques of the spiritual dimension, could ever be deliberated right amidst a battlefield? How is it possible? When there is an inter-exchange of the arsenal from both the sides, one cannot even imagine to deliberate or to listen a motivational discourse from his mentor or guru, whatever you term it as. It appears to be absolutely conflicting. It's an odd issue to contemplate, even for the slightest part, that such an epic, such a compilation would hold any sense to a mind where there is exchange of arsenal. With so much of danger around, how could one experience the depths of Keshava? There was more conflict to me. As they say, there is a character which is the igniting, the point of ignition, where the actual dispute triggered there onwards, by the name Draupadi. During those times when probably ethics were held to their highest esteem, how could it become possible that a lady could ever tie a nuptial knot with 5 brothers at the same time? Right ranging from the eldest to the down to the bottom. India has never witnessed a culture where we can ever relate our entire way of life with any practice where Draupadi or the experience by Draupadi could ever be understood by any common mind. No. One lady, 5 husbands, all brothers. No, it's a conflict. One cannot digest it easily. It doesn't go. One shall have to repudiate the fact immediately. Then there were dichotomies which were probably arising out of the conflicting understanding of the karma, the jnana, the bhakti. What is all this about? Instead of solving the problem of the day, instead of relinquishing one from the dichotomies of the modern life, it's a web. What do they precisely mean? Karma, jnana, bhakti and all. Who is Ved Vyas? What does he have to do with this? If he is the author, then why does he ascribe the entire authority to Keshava? As we understand, the Ved Vyas is also an intrinsic part of the family lineage in the Mahabharata. The entire Mahabharata unfolds from Ved Vyas. To be precise, he has fathered both the Pandu and Dhritarashtra, both. He is the father of the main core characters of the Mahabharata and as well an author to this excellent text, some conflict. Then there was another conflict. There were so many conflicts that kept arising into my mind when I started deliberating from a different perspective in order to give it a new interpretation to the modern mind. Because I had kept an age of around 30, 40 years, a young age, a professional, striving hard to achieve objectives of the life, absolutely engaged into day-to-day dispensation of business of the life, facing all kind of pressures, undergoing all kind of tumultuous states of mind. How would such a mind understand these conflicts? If Gita has been held with highest reverence, then why does Gita not become a day-to-day activity of the life? Hanuman Chalisa has far exceeded its limits to absolutely be a part of our life. We invoke it time and again, especially at scary situations. It abrupts on its own. We need not even reconnect it. People in the worst situation have been, especially the Hindus, in the worst given situations, whether it is IC 814 or else, they have been noticed chanting Hanuman Chalisa while they were forgetting their own name, while they were forgetting their own telephone number. They were not forgetting Hanuman Chalisa. And Bhagwad Gita, when it holds an immense treasure, it's a treasure trove of knowledge. Why has it not been able to exceed to the extent where it could be a part of our understanding? Why is it merely held as a symbol of reverence, confined to the altar in a house or a place of worship in a house? Indeed, yes, when it comes to undergo a vow or to take an oath, in other words, for vow or oath, we certainly put Bhagwad Gita into practice, into use. What about practicing Bhagwad Gita, the gospel of Bhagwad Gita, in the life, in an ordinary life? Why has it been so elusive to the comprehension of an ordinary man? Then I started understanding probably the conflicts which are also associated with the larger epic, namely the Mahabharata. There are points that remain unresolved. Apart from that, the Bhagwad Gita has not been given the interpretation which is due to it. The justice has not been done. The interpretation given to Bhagwad Gita at most of the occasions has been not in consonance with the mind of the day. It has not been able to dispense justice to the mind of the day. It has prevailed as incoherent in one or the other term. And that maintains that elusiveness of the gospel of this eternity to evade the comprehension of an ordinary mind. When all these aspects came before me, then there was a craving within to unravel the true aspect, the tenacity, the veracity of the subject. And it was there when that intuit started coming as a dewdrop and an understanding started developing. An infinitesimal person like me, for me to deliberate on Bhagwad Gita is like measuring the Himalayan range with a straw. With a small piece of straw, if someone would endeavor or charge with a determined mind to measure the Himalayan range, I stand as an allegory to it. I have no stature. No stature. I candidly admit on camera in any language, I hold no stature. Bhagavad Gita is huge, huge, huge. It's so huge. One can derive inferences from the same epic that run beyond any count. And for it to dispense with some interpretation for a person, mundane person like me, an ordinary mundane human being like me, prone to various kind of challenges, idiosyncrasies, it's impossible. But yet, I asked my intellect to rest, and I asked my insight to grow and connect with the insight of the great seers. Then alone the justice shall be done. I'm taking the opportunity to deliberate upon my own insight for account that for the next around 30 months to come, we shall be deeply associated with the subject of the Bhagavad Gita. Try to encompass, try to make an effort that somehow we could bring some new fact before the mind of this day. They say, Hindu Sanskriti, the way of life of a Hindu, has never experienced a death. Several ways of life, as the memory goes, one can recollect several races, beliefs have undergone their natural death. What is so peculiar? What is so specific about the Indian way of life that we term as a Bharatiya Sanskriti, Hindu Sanskriti? It is not dharma, in fact. What is so peculiar about that? We have never experienced a death. The subject has to do something with the Bhagavad Gita. And as the great seers inform us, the reason that we have never experienced death ever since the times known and unknown, the cause attributes to one fact, that there are two kinds of knowledge available in Hindutva. I'm not talking about the Hindutva, that which is a conflicting subject, a more politicized one, colored, no, not the colored one. I talk about the pure, something that emanates out of the pure consciousness. I simply draw inference for it. As they say that knowledge under the Indian realms is primarily known as two different sections, namely the Shruti and the Smriti. Shruti is something which is eternal, immutable. You cannot change it. You cannot ever dare to change it. It's beyond any change. It's immutable facts of life. Bhagavad Gita is immutable. So Veda is Shruti. Bhagavad Gita and Upanishad is Shruti. And then when the great seers, people with some understanding, start reading the Shruti, and they want to develop a contemporary understanding, draw solutions from the Shruti in accordance with the problems of the day, then what they create is a smriti. For example, if I am able to present before you the interpretation drawn from the Bhagwad Geeta, would come under the dimension of a smriti. The Hindutva, the Indian way of life, has experienced countless smritis. Smritis are born and they die. They erupt and they fade away. And nobody would ever contest for them. Nobody would ever contest for them. Because smritis, they are like a bubble which has to do justice with the time. But as the time would pass further, the wisdom of the day which shall come in the near future may not withstand the facility or the understanding rendered by that smriti. It has to become redundant. And that is the beauty of the Hindu way of life. Why we have not been ever, despite of all kinds of intrusions, all demonic intrusions, to tear apart the way of understanding of this particular culture, have not been able to even start. Just for a reason, we have been immersing our own smritis with the times, the changing times. So we have always renewed ourselves. We draw inference from eternity that we term as Shruti, and we create a smriti of our time. And when the time is gone, we simply immerse it. Ganpati Pujan. We bring them, we make them a symbol of adoration, place them on the highest altar, and then on the final day, out of great dispassion, we disassociate ourselves from them, from the idols of the highest reverence, and we immerse them, bid them farewell, see you again next year. Similarly, we draw inference from Shruti. When the times pass, when they become obsolete, when the essence drawn from them obliterates, we immerse the smritis. That is why India, the Hindu way of life, has never experienced the death in known and unknown times. And Shri Med Bhagwad Geeta is a Shruti. Now, going back to the conflict that probably I mentioned just a while ago, that would almost erupt before any common mind, having some basic intelligence, would always like to understand few conflicts. And the moment I come across a shloka, chapter 13, shloka number 1. Though I am going to utilize Sanskrit at the minimum, but yet, since this is the first day we have started upon the program, let me make use of one of the shlokas. Because here, the entire navigational aspect of the epic would alter. Idam shariram kaunteya kshetram iti abhidhiyate etat yah vetti tam prahu kshetragya iti tadvidaha. Simple interpretation informs us, O the great warrior, the slayer of the foes, Arjuna, this body, Sharir, this is the Kshetra. The territory, this is the Kurukshetra, where the battlefield amidst the demonic and the divinish both has to dispense. This is where Kurukshetra is there. Kauravas and Pandavas are nowhere else. But here, this body is the Kshetra. And one who knows this, one who knows the business of this body, the detail and the intricacies of it, is termed as the Kshetragya. This particular shloka opens an absolutely new dimension for Bhagavad Gita. Whereby, of course, yes, there arises a chance, though I am not going to embark upon it heavily, but yet I must take it into consideration. There arises a spark, if you talk about Kurukshetra being this particular body, as we draw direct inference from the chapter 13, shloka number 1. Do you mean to say that the characters of Mahabharata hold a different kind of relevance? Yes, I'm coming down to that. Do you mean to say that they never existed? No, I'm not going to get into all that. No. If you are giving them a different understanding, a different reference, if you're bringing them the entire concept to a different light, whereby you're, first of all, you're rooting out the geographical location of the kshetra to this embodiment of the soul, you would certainly endeavor upon the other characters. Yes, I would. Coming back to the same question, being the counsel of the devil, again I would like to ask you, do you mean to say Arjuna never existed? Bhim never existed? Nakul never existed? It never happened. Do you mean to say that? I said I would like to avoid such questions, because the wisdom of the day mandates that I avoid questions which probably have a different kind of an understanding. Then what do you intend to say? I intend to say something which is pure science, and Bhagwad Gita is pure science. It's not rhetoricism. This is not a couplet of rhetoricism whereby we can simply sing the glory. Hail and sail few warriors and condemn few and just move on. No, it's not like that. It's much more beyond. Much more beyond. What do you mean to say? I simply draw inference from the great seers. If you try to understand, because we must understand how is it possible that the time of the Keshav, when Keshav could very easily interfere into all nitty-gritties of the Kauravas and the Pandavas, could strive all for the reconciliation, could it not stop the Draupadi episode? How could he remain absolutely a witness and just an inspirational element, not beyond that? Yes, you have to understand that. According to this spiritual dimension, the Pandavas, the 5 Pandavas, are the 5 power centers within our body that lie dormant. If you understand it, you would also understand that Vasudeva has locked this entire compilation by the name Bhagwad Geeta with a key of intuitive intelligence, a divine intuitive intelligence. Unless you utilize the key, you will not be able to unlock it. Till that extent, you can only play with the words, draw interpretation as a product of the brain, but never be able to fetch the nectar that is concealed into this glorious work. Yudhishthira, as the yogis ascribes, Yudhi Sthira, one who is calm, composed, Akash Tattva. According to the great seers among the Pandavas, the throat chakra that lies dormant is the abode of Yudhi Sthira, Akash Tattva. It is here. Just moment we travel down, here is the heart chakra, Anahata. This is the Vayu, the forceful pranic energy, Bhima. The more we descend downwards, we come to the navel part, Nabhi Kshetra. That is the abode of the fire element, Arjuna. The more we descend down, we come down to the genital part. There rests Nakul Swadhisthana Chakra. Nakul, a water devoid of the shores. Jal jiska kinara na ho. Nakul. And go to the bottom. There you have the Mooladhara Chakra, Sahadeva. That is the Prithvi Tattva. Okay, you mean to say that this is Yudhishthira, okay, the power center which talks about the calmness, serenity, tranquility and stability is Yudhi Sthira. Yes, it is. Okay, then you talk about the pranic element, the wind, the air part, the energy part is Bhima. Yes, it is. Then you talk about the fire element, the Rajasic, aggression, the one who is always kinetic, absolutely full of kinetic energy, adventurous. Arjuna, yes, that is true. Beneath you see the Nakul and Sahadev. Yes, Swadhisthana and Mooladhara. And where is Draupadi? Draupadi, according to yogis, is the Kul Kundalani. The serpentine power coiled and rested in a dormant state just beneath the Mooladhara chakra is the Kula Kundalani. The Kula Kundalani that belongs to the entire clan, the entire family. It is the Kula Kundalani. The power that once awakens, once arises, is potent enough to propel and give motion to all the dormant centers. It was Draupadi that ignited all dormant centers. The Pandavas were never aggressive. The great seer, they add story to it in order so that a common mind can comprehend. But the problem is that we associate ourselves with rhetoricism to extents that we forget the basic truth enshrined in there. And when Kul Kundalani rises, whether it is Sahadev, the Prithvi Tattva, whether it is Nakul, the water Tattva, whether it is Arjun, the fire Tattva, all have to unfold their potential. They have to unleash their true potentiality, unfurl their flags, and be amidst the battlefield. Okay. Then why was there a special bias for Arjuna? Why was he the only one who was chosen by Keshav? Keshav, he is the enshrinement of divinity. Why would he hold bias for one person? Keshav holds no bias for anyone. He's common to all. You know what Krishna means? We have heard that Krishna means the one who is blackish in color. Is that the only meaning? That's what we have generally heard. Yeah, that's the unfortunate part of it. Sanskrit is a language with more than 2,000 roots available. And people, according to their frame of understanding, choose to pick and associate that appropriate root in order to draw a different inference, a different meaning altogether. The meaning which I understand about Krishna is attraction, something that can allure you, attract you towards itself, the magnetism, the magnetic aura. That is Krishna. Krishna cannot be personified as a human being. Something that prevails all over, in eternity. Well, anyway, I will not question much about it, but like to understand the understanding of the yogis about the Mahabharata and Bhagwad Geeta. What was there so specific about Arjuna that Keshav held bias for him? Why was Gita, the sermon of the divine, delivered directly to Arjuna? Why not others? They were asked to assemble. Krishna could hold good offices upon Kauravas, to ask them to abstain from any further fight, ask them to hold, to cease fire till the moment he would pronounce the battle to continue. Krishna had that influence. Why did he not ask the remaining 4 brothers to assemble down and accept the sermon? Why just merely Arjuna? The reason for that is the Nabhi Kshetra is considered to be the basic enriching source to the physical and subtler body of a human being. 72,000 सूक्ष्म नाड़ियों का केंद्र, 72,000 subtler veins, they travel down from here. According to the yogic anatomy, they travel down from this navel zone. The small pivotal center, it is the trigger point from where the entire enrichment is distributed. And it is here that the fire is rested. The fire tattva that ignites, that charges the entire body. And Arjuna has been ascribed to be the fire element. The cravings of our sensory organs generally remain at the dimension of Nakul and Sahadev. any ordinary human being who is mostly driven by the navigational allurements of the sensory organs in any form, indriyon ka pralobhan, it is there with the Swadhisthana and Mooladhara chakra. And the fight they have, the fight they dispense, the confrontation is at the Nabhi chakra. And Arjun holds the capacity, he is capacitated to contest and fight and uproot the Machiavellian part, the opportunism of all those alluring sensory organs, and give defiance to them so that they do not drag the individuality of a human being beneath, rather it ascends. The ascension of a human being in the realms of the spiritual aspect happens when the energy starts rising beyond the Manipur chakra, that is the Nabhi chakra. Therefore, Arjun is the crucial point. The fire, the ambitious, the aggressive, one who is scattered, who is doomed under depression. The slayer of the foes is sorrowful. He has lost any wisdom. He's lost all inputs of navigation, bewildered. And when the center that enriches the entire gross and the subtle body, that holds the control to 72,000 nerves, if it would land into a moment of sorrow, one can understand that defeat is sure, for sure. Thereby, Arjuna is chosen, specifically chosen by Keshava, for a special deliberation, a special sermon has to be passed. He has to be ignited because he is informed you already have what all you need to do. Your true potentiality is already existing to you. You can very easily slay all these foes. You are the righteous one. You hold that might into you. Come on, charge yourself and just make them lie on the ground. Because once the energy travels upwards, it arrives the Anhat chakra, the heart chakra. The emotion starts spreading. Vishuddhi chakra is the last point. From where onwards, it is the dimension of Kutastha Chaitanya. It is termed as Kutastha Chaitanya. Okay. To some extent, you have given a different understanding to the characters, the basic major characters of Kula Kundalini and these 5 Pandavas. What about the Kauravas? They were 100. Are you going to name all the organs of your body now? No, I don't need to do so. I don't need to do so. Then what are Kauravas? Yeah. According to the great yogis, any human being is vested with 10 sensory organs. The world we perceive outside is merely through the 10 major sensory organs. 5 that are action oriented and 5 that are knowledge oriented. 5 Gyanendriya, 5 Karmendriya. And when all these 10 sensory organs, they are on their own, when they act in the whimsical manner they want to, when they act in a most unwise might of their own, when they exercise their unwise might, they run into 10 more directions. 10 sensory organs running animalistically run in 10 different directions. Dason dishaon mein. 10 into 10 equal to 100. 10 into 10 equal to 100. Then what do? You said 10 into 10 equal to 100, but there was 2 who were precisely named as Duryodhan and Dushasan. Yes, perhaps yes. You can term Duryodhan as the objective and Dushasan as the outcome. When your absolute sensory organs, they run out of control in the most unwise manner in 10 directions. What would you call it as? Wrong objectives. Duryodhana. The actual name should have been Suyodhana. Yodhan. Objectives. When you go for a wrong objective, it is Dur. The bad one, evil one, negative one. Duryodhana. And when Duryodhan is the flag of an army of unmindful sensory organs, then what is going to be the state? The state mane avastha. The state is going to be Dushasan, not Sushasan. The governance will be bad. The governance will be bad. What you're observing these days on your television channels, almost they're clouded with informations. They're almost clouded. Each and every channel is clouded with information. Duryodhan has produced Dushasan. Wrongful governance, misconduct. 10 into 10 equal to 100, because these 10 sensory organs, when they run into 10 different directions in order to cherish their unmindful objectives, they become 100 times more powerful. And where is the Kurukshetra? The Kurukshetra is between the Mooladhara and the navel chakra. The Kurukshetra is between, amidst the Mooladhara. The gravity of the earth, it attracts. The water beyond shore wants to overflow anywhere, unmindful. Don't limit me, don't hold me. Just let me fly, let me go. And Arjuna only can prevail, can take them into control. But Arjuna is also in a state of dismay. He is not in charge of himself. And when Arjuna is not in charge of himself, then what happens is the fire and the earth element, they keep rioting. And Kurukshetra is creating turbulence. The tumultuous state of mind between any human being, the turbulence at the state of mind in any human being, the disharmony prevailing within any human being is a sheer outcome of the routing factors that we term as the Kauravas. They are the Kauravas. Oh, good. You have been somehow able to adjust so far. No, adjust so far. I've been able to give you the factual position of the characters. Okay, what about Ved Vyas? Ved Vyas, if I start deliberating so much on the same day, you will not be able to carry much home. So better that I stop over here and I postpone the further elaboration into the next session which we are going to have on the 11th of the November. Meanwhile, before I leave the new reference given to the Mahabharata, remember, this is a timeless epic, timeless gospel. It's a treasure trove which runs beyond time. It's not a novel. It's not for entertainment. It's not for blindfolding people just to hold them in a small yard and confine them to one kind of an understanding. No, it is not. It is pure science. So I would not go beyond this. I'll come down to Ved Vyas. As we go on deliberating 18th chapter, there would be many opportunities for me to deliberate and explain you. Then probably you can recall this day, associate that new understanding with the one I've given you earlier, or you can recollect your notes, because this learning is going to be in the form of a classroom. I am not a guru. I am not giving a discourse. I am a small teacher. I teach students. So you're here as a student. To the utmost you can call disciple of the knowledge. You can term yourself as disciple of the knowledge. So I would also like you to experience some discipline of attendance and also some recollection, so that we come down. Then there comes an understanding. What do we want to understand from it? What does Gita deliberate upon karma, bhakti and jnana and all this. What are these as? Don't try and exercise your brain fruitlessly. I'll give you a small idea about it. Let us recall Adi Guru Shankaracharya. I think most of us have heard about it. There are certain disputes about his the time when he prevailed. Someone recalls it 700 years, others recall it 800 years ago. I don't land into the dispute. Whenever he was, but he was. That cannot be challenged, that he was never there. He has been in some recent time, probably 800 or 1000 or 2000 years before. Adi Guru Shankaracharya, we must attribute the true credit to him, because he was the one who was able to bring before the commoners the knowledge which was absolutely closed in Mahabharata by the name Bhagwad Geeta. It was a small portion of Bhishma Parva, somewhere compressed between 1,100,000 shlokas. 700 hold no position. Adi Guru Shankaracharya, he was the one who brought it out of it and gave it to the commoners. It was just like dispensing justice with the Ramayana, which was indeed authored by Valmiki, but the justice to take it in order to disseminate its nectar to the commoners was dispensed by none other than Tulsi. So what Tulsi Das did with Ramayana was done by Adi Guru Shankaracharya with Shri Med Bhagwad Geeta. And as I am given to understand, I don't stand the veracity of the fact, but I am given to understand the first English translation of Bhagwad Geeta was done by Warren Hastings and was printed by the courtesy of East India Company. Strange fact. Adi Guru Shankaracharya, he has elaborated upon the knowledge of the Vedas, and as we understand that the juice of the Vedic knowledge is Upanishad, and in furtherance to that, the juice of the Upanishad is Bhagavad Gita. And yes, some great seers even go further and say Gayatri is the essence of the Vedas, the Upanishad and Gita. Well, confining to the Bhagavad Gita, Adi Guru Shankaracharya has specifically mentioned two words. He says, the knowledge of the Vedas comes to us twofold, pravritti and nivritti. Pravritti means all outward action. When you manage your clinic, you manage your business, you manage your job, you manage your targets, objectives, that is pravritti. And all inward contemplation, when you get into the inner serenity, harmony, inner growth, consciousness, etc., etc. This is called as nivritti. He says that pravritti, that is outward action, it yields or it leads a human being to abhyuday, socio-economic welfare. It is abhyuday. And nivritti leads to the result, the outcome of nivritti is the inner freedom. One is able to develop and grow more in the dimensions of consciousness. That inner freedom that you acquire to traverse into the dimensions of spiritual realms is the outcome of nivritti. That is termed as nishreyas. Nishreyas can also be pronounced as nishreyas. So pravritti and nivritti, outward action, inward contemplation. The outcome of both is abhyuday, the socio-economic welfare. And the outcome of the nivritti is nishreyas. According to the great seers of all times, Adi Guru Shankaracharya, when there prevails an imbalance amidst both of them, a human being would always face a riot within, turbulence within, disharmony within. What it means is, as they say, if a nation would only develop on the spiritual dimension, I am not going to name it here, but you can recollect it, a small nation on the borders of the country, highly spiritual, absolutely immersed in nivritti. They have got nishreyas in abundance, but just on the count of pravritti and the paucity of abhyuday, another foreign nation has encompassed its boundaries. In India also we had nivritti, lot of nivritti. We lacked in pravritti. The Western, the America and Western countries, most of them, pravritti in abundance, lack in nivritti. Wherever there is an imbalance of pravritti and nivritti, There has to be a writing element, turbulence within the state of a human mind. We have to draw a balance. Harmony would never prevail unless we draw a balance. This establishes the fact, yes, we need good cars, we need good houses, we need good watches, we need good mobile phones, we need good jobs, we need abundance of wealth. There is no doubt of that. We are not running away from it. But at the same time, it has to be complemented with an appropriate proportion of equity of nivritti, inner growth. Unless that happens, the lopsided growth is going to disharmonize one. If your inner development is exceeding limits and you don't have basic amenities, you can't meet even your two ends, ordinary ends, you have to experience the problem. According to the Vedic knowledge, one must be able to excel at both the counts of pravritti and nivritti, abhyuday and nishreyas, in order to cherish a harmonious life. And Gita is the technology for the same. How to hold the pravritti, abhyuday and nivritti, nishreyas, complementing each other, growing in all aspects of human dimension, and enjoying every moment as the moment of joy. This is the technique. Gita is the technology to re-engineer the way brain thinks, perceives, responds, acts. That is the technology of Shri Med Bhagwad Geeta. And that is what we draw from Adi Guru Shankaracharya. What does Bhagwad Gita hold for us? Bhagwad Gita holds the solution for any Arjuna of any time. Arjuna of any time who is experiencing, who is undergoing the clouds of sorrow and delusion, is not able to adjudicate appropriately, not able to ascertain, not able to discern between facts and choose the right navigational input to draw him out of the complexity of the turbulence, is the message of and teaching of Bhagwad Gita. Bhagwad Gita informs us how to act while considering all acts submitted before Keshava. It teaches us the technology, it teaches us the manner, it teaches us the way how to submit all our acts to Keshava and experience the higher forms of excellence in our own respective spheres by submitting our acts to Keshava. How to submit the fruits, dispensing all acts as service to Keshava is Karam Yoga. Submitting all of its fruits is Jnana Yoga. And considering Keshava and Keshava alone as the true reality, all else is elusive, delusive, is Bhakti Yoga. What are they? How can they hold some sense to our ordinary life when we have so much to achieve, so much running before the mind? This is the learning of Shri Med Bhagwad Geeta. This learning is also going to remove the contaminants, so many contaminants that come and intrude in our divine insight and drive our instinctive behavior in the most animalistic spheres. Bhagavad Gita relinquishes that and holds your hand to charge you towards the dimension of Keshava. The last is, as one would experience Bhagavad Gita, the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita more and more, one starts developing an intuitive understanding within. I have experienced since last so many years, after experiencing, I would say, just experiencing, not use any other word, experiencing Gayatri, the emanation of Gayatri and Bhagavad Gita, the more I experience them, I hold no conflict with anybody. I start accepting people. I enhance in my stature. I have no doubts with anybody who is making bhajan sandhya. I hold no conflict. I don't repudiate others. Everybody, each one of them appears to be doing their respective part. They are justified. They're doing the way they should be doing it. Rather, I stretch my arms, which generally is not possible with the mundane understanding one generally prevails in the life. But with the dawn of the influence of Bhagavad Gita and Gayatri, one becomes boundless and starts accepting more and more. And once you start accepting more and more, the life becomes more and more harmonized. We are going to meet next when we embark upon the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita with a new understanding, the understanding that holds direct relevance to the modern mind, which shall not give away itself blindfolded, which needs a tangible reason to develop, reshape, reform, recreate a new understanding, so that one can associate and benefit from the light and effulgence of Keshava. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.